I'm sure you haven't heard of Ionis yet, right? So Ionis was not found until almost 2000. And it was deliberately buried on top of a mountain, and it's an incredible ancient temple. It's built all with andesite and basalt and golden calcite alabaster. But I want you to click that picture, right in the right on the left there, the middle, that one right there. So I want to show you this and talk about it a little bit because I think it's fascinating. Is that these sites around Lake Vaughan are, I feel like, will be game changers in the future. Big game changers. Number one, if you look at this, a lot of the symbols they have around it, you've matched them around the world into other important symbols. But most importantly, I want to focus behind the altar on the sun cross. Do you see that? Mm-hmm. So that sun cross is a very specific type of cross. It forms a circle. That's why it's a sun cross. And it has, equal arms that come out. Now, when I was looking into the age of this civilization and the evidence we were finding for how much older it was than the Urartians. So traditional archaeologists tells us that this was built by the Urartian culture 2,800 years ago, but they're the ones who built all the mud brick on top and all the castles. And that's what that dirt that's right above that is. It's actually eroded mud brick. Now, that's one of the reasons why a lot of this has been ignored. But Ionis, that cross, if you look at that and you follow it, it brings up some really profound questions. The first one is, number one, how did they create and carve any of those things? Those stones are what's called andesite. Mm-hmm. Those are a 7 to a 7.5 on the Mohs hardness scale out of 10. And for not only that, but if you look, they cut symbols through more than one block, which I don't even know how you would even do that. If you would have two blocks fitted together.
Like they did it after the blocks were already put up there.
How would you fit them perfectly together like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they had to have done it after the blocks were put in place, right?
There's no mistakes. They're all laser cut, okay? And it's one of the hardest stones in the world. But what gets even more wild is that symbol we then find in the highest levels of secret societies and echelons of religion later on. And so if you want to pull up really quick, can you start with that Knights Templar cross? I want to show that really quick. Right there, yeah. So the Knights Templar became one of the most famous groups in history, right? They were protecting and preserving this cross, and they ended up being hunted down and eradicated by the church, right? It's a famous story. Mm-hmm. They were part of an old secret society that was protecting something.
Yeah, they controlled all the money and all that.
That cross is called either the Red Cross or the Knights Templar cross today, but it's based on a solar cross. Now, if that cross predates them by a great amount of time, and it's from Ionis, that's the origins of that entire cross, the mystery just gets deeper and deeper, because we could be looking at ancient traditions and knowledge and knowing that were literally lost and still remained in certain secret societies through oral traditions and others, but the actual origin point of where it came from might have been lost. Like they had no idea that that was from Ionis, because Ionis had been buried for almost 3,000 years. Buried. It was not found until somewhat recently. And so Alexander the Great visited the Vaughan region. Xerxes visited the Vaughan region. If you go to Vaughan Castle, I was just there for a tour, you can see the Xerxes inscription up there. They all visited like they knew that it was a very special place, right? Some of the highest high-profile explorers and people like that in history and conquerors. Mm-hmm. And they went there, but Ionis was buried and never found until recently. And so you start seeing this usage of this type of cross in the highest echelons. Mm-hmm. And it really brings up very profound questions about whether or not it was some kind of an ancient knowing and tradition that went all the way back, but was then lost and still remains. So can you go to the next picture of the Pope really quick in the Vatican? I want to show. Yeah, so take a look at this. Instead of having the Christian cross, the Pope is wearing that same cross from the Knights Templar. All the way back to, I believe, is this first one that came from Ionis. And so it gets into some really profound areas of exploring whether or not we could be looking at an entire area of lost history that could redefine religion, could redefine philosophy back to what it used to be, ancient teachings, understandings of sacred geometry, all kinds of things that come back in opening the doors of what this civilization may have left behind for us to find our way back. Let me give you another example. Can you go to that image that's on the left there, right on the left, that T-pillar right there? No, up on the left there, all the way left. Yep. That's from Shavuos Tepe. That's right next to Ionis. Now, when we were there doing an analysis and investigation, do you see that's the center cut in the middle there? That we found that was exactly 12 inches, exactly a foot. And when we measured other ratios with it, we found that it may be part of the building blocks of potentially even mathematics. So I found also areas that looked like a compass was used to design some of the symbols. And they have this symbol. Now, if you look at what that symbol looks like, if you go to ancient Greece, the capital letter for pi, is that design. And so are we looking at the origins of the basis of geometry and mathematics encoded into these structures and areas around Lake Vaughan? I'm telling you, it just keeps going deeper and deeper, because every time we look into these things they built and left behind, it seems like it's the beginnings of everything that became the most important parts of civilization, like we said, like astronomy, mathematics, even agriculture and other things may have emerged from these places and may have led to everything else that we understand today.
Wow. That's pretty fucking crazy.
So that piece right there, just so you can get an idea how big it is. Can you zoom out to the other one really quick of the other images? And then go up. Yeah, go up to the top second one. That's how big they are. It's around 7 tons.
Wow.
And now notice it's sitting in situ, still barely sticking out of the ground, right? These sites are the only places in the world where you can find things like this that are not in museums and are still sitting there. You can't find that anywhere in the world.
Right.
They're just sitting there overgrown, and we went there and we just went there with a tour, and people actually found an artifact. Do you have a picture of that? I think I showed you that. Yeah, can you go to that artifact really quick? I want to show in the middle, right in the center, dead center. Click this. That guy right there, his name is Xavier. He came on my tour. It was our first tour we've ever done in the Vaughan region. And I brought him to a place called Kefkalesi. And I showed him the type of, everybody, like a whole group, we had 30 people. And I showed everybody the type of stone we were looking for. I said, look, they carved out of fine grained basalt only. I said, if anybody sees one, there's still a lot that hasn't been found here. And they were doing active excavations at the top of the hill. Like I know the archaeologists and I work with them. And so we're walking on the slopes. He turns over a stone. He turns over a piece, and there's a full, from a basalt relief, that's the bottom of a lion. Okay, now I'm going to show you where it's from.
Oh, wow.
Remember the legs there?
Yep.
Now, can you go to that first image on the top left for me? This came from the same site. Now zoom in on the bottom with the lion. It's the bottom of the lion.
Whoa.
So he found one of the pieces of one of these.
Where is this phone from?
This is from Kefkalesi, which is right next to Ionis around Lake Vaughan. We found a piece of one of these, and it went into a museum. We handed it back to them, and they literally are putting it in a museum. But that's what the point I'm trying to make is that this is like the Wild West of archaeology. You can really find things. And see?
Oh, that's crazy.
So it's actually the left lion, not the right. Yeah. So if you zoom in and look, it's the bottom of the lion.
100%.
And so the reason for that is that those bas-reliefs, those huge ones, there's at least 10 of them. And a lot of them broke off and fractured some of the sides where the symbols were, and they're still there, and you can find them.
It's crazy, the negative relief, like how they were able to do that kind of a detail.
Okay, and based on that, now go scroll up for him when he's based on the relief. Yeah, on the left. I want him to see this. Go all the way up. Now go to the top. Look at those levels. Okay, so you're talking about a solid piece of basalt that's around 50 tons. Okay. Now they didn't make a single mistake. They somehow carved, that is 3 different interval levels. 3. They carved 3 interval levels into that somehow. Without making a mistake in one of the hardest stones on earth.
That's insane.
We have no understanding for how they did these things.
Right.
No understanding. In fact, today, masons have looked at stuff like this in hard stone. We're not talking about soft stone. We're talking about granites, basalts, and andesites.
Yeah.
They are saying unless they had like lasers and machines, they wouldn't be able to do this.
Right. Same thing with these vases, man.
Like I know. So
Yeah.
we have no idea how they did these things. No idea.
Right.